Hello. Is that on? Sound louder than usual. Brilliant. Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome. This should hopefully be a lively and engaging panel. The title, as mentioned there, is AI-driven privacy solutions in blockchain. And, well, I would allow you guys to introduce yourself again if you care to. I'm Henry Hankin. I'm co-founder of Web3 marketing agency Flight 3 and also Zebu Live, which is the largest crypto event in the UK. It's my pleasure to be here. But let me allow my talented speakers to just give themselves a quick one-line introduction before we jump in.
Bom dia. Hi, everyone. My name is Ron Machado. I'm the head of growth and one of the founding members of Humanity Protocol. And basically what we are doing is solving digital identity once for all on the blockchain, not only on the blockchain, but also on the Web2 space, offline, everywhere, all over the place.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dimitri. I'm AI engineer and advisor for Temple Technology. I also run an art studio here in Lisbon called RNA, where we really immerse ourselves in the future of what happens if agents go loose and AI is all around in abundance. So, yeah, by living it, we try to also design protocols in order to cope with it.
Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
No,
Nope.
it's not on. Can we get George's mic on, someone, please?
Hello.
There we are.
Oh, now it's okay. Can you guys hear me? I guess so, yeah. All right, so I'm George Antonio, CTO and co-founder at the Toma Network, and we are building centralized AI cloud with privacy, with private AI.
Perfect. Thanks so much, team. Yeah, so let's just set the stage, as it were, set the scene. Blockchain, sometimes, I feel, is a technology, an industry, an ecosystem that can be at odds with itself. By which I mean, on the one hand, you have this push for ultimate transparency, decentralization, everything is immutable and things like that. On the other hand, probably many of the people in this room are communicating with each other via Telegram using cartoon pictures to mask their identity and funny names that always seem to start with 0x. So how do we reconcile these things? Blockchain being built around transparency, but as privacy concerns grow, this big question, AI. Obviously, this is the reason we're all here. Can this be the bridge between transparency and data privacy? We're joined here, some of the best minds in the field working at that intersection. And we're going to explore whether AI-driven tools and technologies can realistically adapt to the demands of privacy and compliance, and whether they're capable of delivering privacy without undermining that which makes blockchain unique. But before we jump in, a bit of audience participation. By a show of hands, who here believes that AI technology can provide solutions for privacy issues in blockchain? Hands up if you're bullish about that concept. Lukewarm, I like that. But that's the purpose of this session. We're going to change your minds, hopefully. So yeah, I've got a number of questions. Let's jump right in. So the first question, broadly relating to that nice bit of audience participation: can AI actually deliver both transparency and privacy on blockchain? Are we just hoping for the best? As I mentioned, blockchain's designed to be transparent, so how realistic is it that AI can bring true privacy without compromising those core principles? Anyone welcome to jump in?
I can start. I think yes, and I think it should and it must. But we need some advanced cryptographic technologies for it. And my favorite one, which I think it's becoming mature and ready to deliver privacy and serving its purpose of AI on the blockchain while maintaining transparency, et cetera, is actually zero-knowledge proof. So, of course, AI, in the end, it's an AI model trained by machine learning. So that means that in order to we get an AI model, it's all about data, right? It's all about managing data. And if we want, for example, from some sectors in which the data needs to be 100% secure, 100% private, we should not show that data either because it's from an individual, it's a healthcare institution, whatever it is. ZK allows us to provide the data that the AI needs or the machine learning needs to be trained without actually showing it or losing the ownership of it, right? So with ZK, I think we will be able to have the right AI and train it at the best of it, but while maintaining the privacy of the users, of whichever data it is.
So if you can expand on that, because I think that's fascinating, and obviously ZK is like been around for a little, well, in crypto terms, it's been around for about 10,000 years at this point. But so what you're suggesting is that we can use ZK technology to better feed AI models, or am I getting that wrong?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, for example, at Humanity Protocol, what we are doing, we are allowing people, or in this case, users, to prove that they are humans on the blockchain. Okay. So behind the wallet, behind the profile, for example, if we are talking about social media, there's actually a human being. What we have here, it's actually an AI-trained model to understand through your palm. So we are doing this through palm scan. Okay. You may know WorldCoin. WorldCoin, they have the iris scan, which is by hardware-based and sorry for my language, it's a pain in the ass process. I hate it. Well, we are doing it through software-based with a palm scan. With your computer, with your phone, whatever it is, we are allowing users to prove that they are human with this palm scan. So what we have here, it's an AI-trained model, but of course then we have our node operators, which are, they are using ZK technology to use this data to verify that there's a human behind without actually storaging or even seeing your palm, right?
Understood. I had a funny conversation with my wife this morning trying to explain what ZK was when she was like, what are you talking about? Dimitri, George, would you care to build on that? Do you have perhaps a contrasting opinion?
Yeah,
I can go ahead.
Easy. I think AI is just making the problem way, way worse. You see this like massive aggregation of data, right? Like just to train these foundation models, they went out and scraped everything, and if you mix and blend it in the weights and biases, you kind of like lose all track of provenance, ownership. I don't think robots.txt actually does a thing, you know. And you'll see these lawsuits coming out in the next few years about like you trained on our private data set and you didn't tell us. Now also like you can tell Reddit, they're selling their data sets for training, I think 60 million per pop, you know? So it's a really valuable data set that they have. So for me, AI at this point in time is just making the problem worse because we are feeding all our kind of, you know, all our threads, all our chats that we do with ChatGPT, it's there, right? It's not on our service. So at a point where you say like, well, can we actually have an AI that is, let's say, transparent in terms of like ethics, how it was trained, and maybe ownership, how it was kind of like consumed, and all these things, it's a hard problem to crack. I think zero-knowledge proofs, full of homomorphic encryption, all these trusted execution environments, all these levels of privacy measures you can add to it, they will kill the use case because they're 100x slower than whatever you want. So you can do little verifications of attributes of persons, or like you could say like, oh yeah, I think this result actually came from something that happened behind the server. I didn't know really what happened at that server, but I got this proof out that I can check and see that, oh, something happened there that seems to be correct, right? But you still don't know what's behind those walls. So, we need to have like a serious reconsideration because, you know, for me, like all decentralization and Bitcoin was all about wealth democratization. For me now, with AI, you have massive data consolidation. So we're going the other way around, right? And I see a really grim future here. But I do think like having a level of integrity checks, like that's what, like I like NFTs because we used to work on color coins. In 2014, we were making like, you had something called proof of existence and other things, you know? Like you would just like have a way to dump some data on the Bitcoin blockchain. The miners kind of didn't like it. They were like tagging theirs, you know, it wasn't a data store, it's a store of value or a medium of exchange, right? But it is an interesting way of certifying that a data asset was produced at a certain point in time by a certain key.
Yeah.
So you have now something new, a new massive cool building block for any kind of novel way of looking at the semantic web. I see Alex there, he's been working on this also for 10 years and a few other legends in the space. So yeah, we have to like think about these terms of like, what does it mean to have a level of integrity in our data consumption?
Well, I love that, and I think that's a very a nice kind of slightly pessimistic view there, which is very apt given the recent election results. George, if we could, if you want to pick that back up, and then we'll move on to the next.
Absolutely. I think these are all very interesting points. So, blockchains are like, in general, they are completely transparent. All the data that is there is public. You can see everything. These will not work to onboard like AI applications, AI developers, and even like AI coprocessors for blockchains. And the reason is very simple. I mean, we users, like the end user, we might not care that much about privacy. Some people do, some people don't. Some people are just fine with sharing their all data they have with ChatGPT, with OpenAI. Others, they don't want to use it, but that's fine. There is a market for all that. But if you think about it, like if you are developing in AI, you have a lot of intellectual property that you are definitely not willing to share with anyone, right? Imagine that you are like, I don't know, like Perplexity or Cursor or any of these large like applications. Are you going to share like your system prompts, your RAG databases, etc., with like some node on the blockchain? No, you will not. You will not share your data with the world, because then you are basically just commoditizing your work. Anyone can just go and copy you really easily, right? And especially in AI, where data is at the forefront, is key, right? And for example, I will give you a point here, which is all of these models like Claude, ChatGPT, Llama, etc. If you go and use them, I mean, they are most of them are practically very similar in terms of performance, of capacities, of the answers, the way that they are censored. Everything is very close. They are like all very like similar in many aspects. And one of the reasons is they have been massively trained on public data on the internet. So they have all seen the same data, so they cannot differ themselves, right? And the way moving forward is that you have models that are more like tailored to more specific use cases or situations. And this is only possible through like private data that is not accessible to others, because otherwise you just lose the edge of the market, right? That's an important point. And so therefore the data cannot be, like blockchains cannot be the means for AI. Blockchains can nonetheless be the means for payments for AI services. And that's very interesting, because that allows to coordinate resources, compute resources, pools of compute resources. That's very important. And it's like something that we are exploring and we are actually building at Toma. For the full privacy, like I agree there are tons of like very interesting technologies, like for example, ZK is great, but ZK at this point is not yet ready for very large models. So for example, if you want to run like ZK proofs for Llama 405B model, it's too large, it's very costly, it's like 10,000 times overhead. So for models is great, for smaller models is great, for larger models is still not there yet. But even though ZK allows to have like sort of like public obfuscation of the data, the node that is processing your data can actually see it, right? And so you have like sort of this semi-privacy of the data, right? If you're willing to share your data with a specific node and you trust the node, then it's fine. But the way to have like full privacy is either through like FHE, fully homomorphic encryption, which is, I would say, a bit far away because it's a less mature technology, or you can use like trusted execution environments, hardware, enclaves and whatnot, which offer basically full total privacy with very little overhead. And this is precisely the reason why we are exploring this on Toma.
Let me jump in. Sorry to interrupt. I'm just conscious of time, and I've got a few things I want to touch on. And you're already naturally kind of touching on this next topic, which hopefully is a little bit of a spicy one. And it sounded like we were already getting there. So potentially, AI or not can help users to gain better control of their data. Or rather, to put it differently, like there is a push, there is a kind of a narrative around people seeking better control of their data. Blockchain is a part of this. But who cares, is my question. Like, do people actually care about this? Like, what is the price of, convenience? That Reddit piece is like, I still want my doom scrolling, I still want my stupid memes and content. What do I care if they're giving me data? What do I care if they're serving me better ads? And you were kind of touching on it there, where you were saying like most people are kind of happy just to swim along in that. So I think the question is, be honest. Like, is the average user ready for this responsibility, or do they just not care? And moreover, like, what is the risk of mismanaging your data? How can we educate, well, me really, in terms of like how to be more careful and why? And if you care to pick that up first, and then we can open it up.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I really think that the average user, the average internet user, doesn't necessarily think much about privacy. Like, think about your parents or so. Do they really care about if they are sharing their data with Facebook or OpenAI? I mean, I would say most likely not. The people here in the Web3 audience I believe so. I believe people in our community, they do care.
Should we have a quick show of hands? Who here uses any Meta product, WhatsApp, Facebook, or Instagram? Don't lie. Just
Everyone.
one person. Come
Everyone.
on, surely. Who here uses Reddit as well? And I am not on Insta, but I love Reddit. Do you know what I mean? It's like, we're okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely. But that doesn't mean that privacy is not important. I would say that privacy is fundamental. And the reason is, even though the end user might not want to care, as I mentioned before, the application developers, they do care. Like Perplexity cares about it. OpenAI cares about the data they have. They will not share the data with anyone else, right? All these companies, if you are starting a startup and you are basically giving away for free your data with AWS or like Google, I mean, you are putting yourself at a disadvantage, right? And look, like, what's more incredible is that the demand for cloud services, for like compute in general, come from AI developers, come from teams, comes from startups, from companies, corporations, right? And that's a very important thing. So I would say intellectual property for people that are building, it's fundamental.
Yeah.
I would say there are some areas of society that are very important to have, like healthcare data. This data will never be public, right? Never.
And it's interesting, I think, how it can tie into things like fraud, and obviously crypto, for better or for worse, is like there's a huge financial component to it, and this idea of transparency, it's a bug, it's a feature. Let's pass it to another one of our talented speakers. Is there anyone else care to pick up on this big question of who cares and why? Should they or not?
Well, it's not so much, I think, privacy that I'm going to talk about now, but I think artists do care about like how their data is being used by AIs. So one of the things we do is like we allow them to fine-tune and have their own model as an agent next to them, not like
for art
for
creation,
arts,
you mean?
for creation.
Kind of like, yeah, okay.
So, I mean, you always, you know, the internet spreads in like, you know, through gambling, porn, and art, right? So these three things are like.
I only know what two of those things are.
Yeah, so we're talking art now. What's interesting for these people, they kind of feel like disenfranchised because their style, their works are being like absorbed. So they do need a solution that we already can offer now, and that means like we can fine-tune a concept model with their artworks, and it's really amazing. Like if you see the results that come out, like all the artists we work with are like incredibly like inspired by what this can mean to their practice. And then the next step, and I think that's the most important thing, is give back control to them. Like, give them the terms on how this agent that now knows how to reproduce a style can become an amplifier for their direct-to-fan engagement and other things to like cross-pollinate with other artists and whatnot. So I think that's really interesting. And that brings me to the fact that maybe the blockchain is just there to like think about access control, just that layer of access control, right? You need to be able to negotiate with a compute provider, a model provider, what are the terms that you want to exchange your data, right? You need to have a protocol for that. Sometimes you say like, yeah, you can have it, you can read it. Sometimes it's like, well, if you want to train it, like you need to send your algorithm to me, I'll host the GPU, I'll have the data, you'll never see it. I'll give you back a checkpoint. Maybe I'll add a ZK proof showing that I actually did some training on your model that now is like populated with weights and biases.
And let's be honest, you know, everyone has a price as well. Like if you're giving up that data, even that's creative data to feed a Mid-Journey or something like this, it's, as you describe, it's the fact that there's no agreement in place right now. I just wanted to build on that as someone who's in the industry and involved in the arts, as you are. Sometimes we're having these conversations about kind of like blockchain being the verification layer of AI, and I'm definitely the lay person in the room. These guys are the experts. Maybe I've got this completely wrong, but like, is that something that can potentially provide some kind of digital watermark for AI'd art so that the actual artist, the actual generator of that artwork initially can find some kind of attribution or some kind of reward?
So the art is in the medium, right? That's what I love about crypto. It's always they find a way to like conceptually manifest what they want to show for. There was this project called Artonomous, and I think there's like, it was just a meme, an idea of like having an artist autonomously running without human intervention. It would produce art, sell it to the humans, and accumulate wealth. And nobody can access the wealth because it's an agent, it's a non-human agent that runs around and sells stuff to humans back and forth. I think that is a very interesting concept in terms of like, how do you go about a world where all these agents now are going to live, and who's going to own them in the end? So it's even a more complex story that blockchain as a verification layer is giving, right? It's saying that, well, now we have like agents that can have payments. They're probably going to pass all the Turing tests you'll ever have, and they're going to have wallets. And then probably then at some point also find a way to buy robots so they can upload themselves into that and then drone out and go somewhere. And then,
it's crazy. This is why you should always say please and thank you to your LLMs and your ChatGPTs and stuff, because when the AI overlords come in, they're going to be going room to room and they'll be like, you were nice to me. I'm just going to suggest on time, because there's a couple of things, and we're already kind of touching on them. I want to give Joao this next one, which kind of leads on to what we were just talking about. We talked about artists, we talked about IP holders and engineers and things like this, but like for the everyday person, what is in it for them? Like, when will we know that, or if, AI and blockchain combination is actually making a difference in terms of privacy, and I suppose, given where the conversation is going, data ownership for real people? Like, people want tangible benefits, and the price or the value of convenience is so high that that's why people here are using these social media platforms, things like that. Do you care to share your thoughts on that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think we'll reach that point when people will be using those technologies without even knowing that they are using them, right?
Definitely agree.
And if I may just take one step back, reply to that question.
Take it wherever you want, I'm
regarding
just like,
if the average users care, and I'm going to make some connection here. You ask, I mean, I don't think, to be honest, that people care at all about privacy. These folks here, they care because otherwise they will not be here. But you ask who use a Facebook or Meta or WhatsApp product, and everybody said that they use. And so I want to ask who here actually read the policy, privacy, or terms and conditions page of those apps?
I looked at them. I can't
Don't
say
lie,
I read them.
don't lie.
No, I didn't read them at all.
So no one actually takes a look at it, right? I mean, we never, when we sign up for a new product, for a new app, for a new website, we never read the cookies, we never read the terms and conditions, because the human being, we don't care about complex things, right? We human being like simple, easy to understand things and products.
And maybe there's an AI angle there in terms of like, here's a little summary, because I'll put legal documents
that
through
could be
ChatGPT,
cool
which I
idea,
probably
actually.
shouldn't, given the data implications. But sorry, I interrupted. Please carry on.
So, but in the end, I think it's all about people. First of all, I think we'll have to educate everyone, because privacy is really, really important. People, I mean, think about GDPR. People don't care about GDPR. I mean, we start talking about GDPR because there was this scandal with Cambridge Analytics, but until then, nobody cared about GDPR, and today I don't think anyone cares about GDPR as well. So I think we will reach that point that you were asking, when companies build products, is amazing, easy to use, user-friendly experience, online experience, that people will use without even knowing that that technology is on the back. Is it like a faster and smoothless login or sign up without using captchas, for example? For example, in bringing to my own use case, imagine that instead of, you want to access to a product or to an online experience, and instead of proving that you're human through doing those crazy captchas, you just scan your palm and it's done, I think those type of products and those type of experience will be the ones that will succeed on the industry.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. This technology, I mean, this is blockchain across the board. The challenge sometimes to engage with it and use it, and I mentioned my wife, when she sees me aping into a base meme coin and I'm bridging this, that to the other, and she's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm going to make us rich, don't worry about it. It's Toad coin, which actually pumped about 7,000% this week and I missed it. But yeah, this idea of like, you don't know how your phone works, you don't need to know, you just need to get to the value. Does anyone else want to build on that? As in, what does this mean for the everyday user? When will we know it's working, or when will we know it isn't working, before we move on?
Well, there are now the mimetic agents that minting their own tokens, so I guess that's for the average user.
The universe is going to eat itself, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, no? Like having kind of a way that people, like, I sometimes, like, if you think about, like, just the concept of meme coins, like, there is no utility, you'd say, but actually I see two utilities. One of them is the way information spreads about alpha. These are information gateways that run on Telegram, and people scavenge and find it and give it to others, utility. The other one is every Wild Wild West has to have a lottery, right? The chance of chasing the fastest moving thing in the universe, opportunity, and I think these kind of like democratization of wealth thingies, like they have these incentives in the game. I think mimetic agents and memes as well, they play into that, right? Like if you have the ability to, give people like a kind of a social driver for getting information spread. Maybe AI helps there to show like how we work as a society together, or maybe how we collapse as a society together. Like they'll
Or is it
definitely
going to build
accelerate some of
another
these.
society of just AI agents? I mean, we're describing AI agents creating meme coins. AI agents are going to be trading those meme coins. AI agents generating wealth. They're creating the art for the meme.
So
what should we do?
That's the next
We'll
step.
go swimming, will we? Very interesting, which is the word I try not to say when moderating panels. Now, I'm going to just move us on to our last question. They're all kind of interlinked, and there's connections we can draw between them, but just with keeping an eye on the time. This is maybe a bit of a broad one, but we can flip it either way, which is, what is the most exciting, feel free to shill your own businesses, what is the most exciting privacy tech involving AI that's almost ready, or that is ready for the real world? And the counterpoint is like, what's stopping it from going mainstream? What's like the monster in the room? So the question is, what's everyone here need to go and download or research or get ready for, or what do they need to avoid? And I'll pass that to you, George.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I really think in terms of privacy for AI, anything that builds on T's right now is basically at the stage that is ready or will be ready very, very soon in the way that there is no fundamental work to be done additionally. It's more like, how can we plug this technology into the blockchain, right? And this is like, we have a lot of experience because people in the space have been building this for the past, 10 years or so. And I really think, for example, T's are actually very interesting, not only for the privacy for AI, for the actual AI computation, so you can make sure that all your inputs and outputs are private to the node operators, to the blockchain, to any external party. But since we touch on agents, and I think this is actually very, very cool application, and it's a question that it's kind of like dual to this proof of humanity, is like, how do we know that an agent is actually being run by an AI, right? It's the opposite question. Usually people care about, how do you know that an AI is not impersonating myself as a person, as a human? How do you know that, for example, AI agents are not actually being like manipulated by a human under the hood, right? We have seen like a few examples on Twitter over the past few weeks where you had some tweets that were claimed to be tweeted by some AI bot or so, and in actuality, like there was a human in the middle, right? So if you want to have like these complete autonomous agents, all these completely like autonomous economies, how can we make sure that there are no like humans involved, and therefore we have more transparency, etc.
Yeah, it feels like that's something to do with the maturation of the technology, right? It's like
Exactly.
these, I work with a few people who have built like whole Zapier-built AI-generated like LinkedIn feeds or 5 tweets a day, scraping this, that, and the other. Still needs an element of human
Exactly.
checks and
Exactly.
balances.
Can I flag one
Please.
warning?
Oh, yeah.
If you use TEEs.
Yeah.
Like it's a honeypot, right?
Wait, what is TEE?
So
I'm just acting
it's
like I
a
knew what you were
trusted
talking about.
execution environment. So it's on the hardware. It's probably in every mainstream like Intel processor and ARM architecture. They have this like secure enclave, and everything goes in there encrypted. So you can't really probe it because you can put data in there. Everything goes in there. What happens inside of that thing is fully encrypted, and then spits out something. But it's a honeypot because what happened, there was an SGX got kind of like compromised at some point, and this means that if you compromise it once, all the instances are compromised.
Right.
Right? That's why I don't really like it that much. It's better than nothing. But just think about everything that consolidates data, everything that has a single key to unlock many, that's a vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
The LastPass stuff, right? Everybody's shit got on the street.
Yeah.
I just want to add one thing on there. That's that's definitely true. But actually, the only way that you can compromise your TE, that all the known attacks actually require you to destroy your hardware. So you can see what's inside, but you have to sort of like manipulate your Intel chip or whatever, and that's like super expensive and requires like specialized machines, specialized teams to do it.
But that's not the problem. The problem is you can make fake attestations.
Yeah.
So all the
Fellows,
attestations.
I'm going to have to. So obviously, these numbers have gone red. Now you know what that means. But I just would love, Joao, do you have any last kind of remarks you'd like to add on that? I think people just want to know, what do I need to go and download to make my life
regarding
better?
your question, I mean, my alpha will be, of course, Humanity Protocol. Join testnet. We are already more than 500,000 users there.
Wow.
But then regarding your final point, which was what are the challenge of today, I'm just going to be short and sweet. I think the main one, it's regulation.
Sure.
Not because we crypto AI folks, we don't want to regulate, but because government institutions, they want to regulate something that they don't understand. And if they want to regulate crypto AI, whatever it is, they need to bring the expertise, people that actually understand the technology. They have to bring them to the room, they have to sit with them, and they have to regulate. And they need to ask them help to regulate.
Yeah.
Otherwise, again, you cannot regulate something that you don't understand.
And it's education, and that's what I think is where they go hand in hand. And speaking of education, what an excellent segue. Thank you so much to my incredible panelists here. I think that was an enlightening conversation for me personally, and I hope you guys took something away from that as well. Thanks so much for joining, team. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. I'm speaking again later today. I think these guys have a few more bits and bobs. But please give it up
Thank you
for
so
the team.
much. Obrigado.
Thank you so much. Cheers, guys. Good vibes. That was fun.